If you'd like to show your support for all things here, cryptids, anomalies, and the paranormal society, it is, I just got an email from T-Public today that today is the last day that you can order and get hopefully guaranteed shipping by Christmas. So if you're looking for a last minute gift for your favorite cryptid fan or Caps fan, you still have time, and you still have time to get our lovely holiday edition ugly sweater design from Caps. It will arrive hopefully in time by Christmas. So there you go. This is the last time you'll hear me talk about that. But the design will stay up if you want to get it, for whenever. It'll still be up there, but just before this year. So there you go. The Hairy Man of Dairyland, Wisconsin's Bigfoot, our feature-length Bigfoot documentary is available on our Patreon page for just $3. It features the people, places, and evidence of Wisconsin and Bigfoot. Very cool. Added to our schedule, if you guys want to meet us in person, we are now going to be at ObscuraCon. This is coming up in March of this year, next year. I'm already on next year. We finished up with Krampus a couple days ago, and now we're on to 2026. We got big stuff coming here. So ObscuraCon is coming up next March. It is in Illinois. I will get you more information on that. We just got it signed, so we'll get back to that. And Contact Modalities Expo, May 1st through the 3rd in Delavan, Wisconsin. That is coming up. Dean Bertram, also from the Untold Radio Network, is going to be at this event. Myself, Sam Moranto from MUFON, Zach Screedy, Jack Chavez, so many names on there. I'm not going to bore you with reading them all. Check it on out. Contact Modalities XPO.com or WisconsinCaps.com. Click on the public events tab for all the information. We're just a couple days away from releasing the tickets and our second round of guest speaker announcements for CapCon 2026. Yep, 2026. In Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. Now I don't even know what year it is. It's going to be Saturday, May 9th in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. Tickets and the more speakers get announced January 1st. So going to be a big event there. Make sure you grab your tickets and stuff early because you get a discount. And then, guys, Saturday, June 13th, we are going to be at the Chicago Paranormal Convention, Countryside, Illinois. And in October, we are going to be at the Belleville Public Library, October 30th. There you go. That's what I got. That's what's coming up. But coming up on the show today, we are live. Let's see here. This is for me. I guess I'll take it first. What did I think about the black and white picture I linked to you on Facebook of the 50-foot snake? Yeah. So he sent me a picture of a giant snake that was photographed from an airplane, I believe. It wasn't a helicopter. It was an airplane. And I don't know. It's black and white. It's supposed to be older. I don't know. It's hard to tell scale of what's around it in the picture. So I'm kind of leery. It could be legitimate. I mean, snakes can get pretty big, but that's a big snake. So I have a couple herpetologist people coming on in a couple weeks, so hopefully we can ask them if you'd like, bring it back up, and I will send it to them beforehand. Awesome. Ooh, an interesting story from Octopus with No Friends. All right, guys, I have a guest. We are got to get to him. So we are live today, as you can tell. With that being said, let's get to our guest. Awesome. My guest today is Insane Joe. Joe is the co-host and driving force behind a popular paranormal podcast, which he initially launched in 2017, before fully focusing on the mysterious world of the paranormal in 2019. Alongside his wife, he has cultivated a passion for investigating historical locations, seeking both answers and an appreciation for the history contained within. Their approach is refreshingly honest and grounded. What you see is what you get. The duo strictly strictly avoids jumping to conclusions or using fancy editing. If an investigation yields nothing, that is precisely what their audience is going to see or hear. Joe emphasizes that he and his wife are not experts and do not claim to be. Their work is driven purely by the fun of the pursuit, the search for truth, and a love of history, never for fame or fortune. Please welcome to the show, Insane Joe. Joe, welcome to my show.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, man. I have had the pleasure of coming on your show a couple times, so now we
Oh
got
yeah,
the tables here.
yeah, and we do the paranormal in Chicago every year. I see you at that one for the
Absolutely,
last 3 or 4 years now.
absolutely, man.
So,
Cool. All right, well, let's start off with tell us about how you got interested in this stuff.
well, interested in this stuff for doing the podcasting. I mean, there's a story to both. I
Sure.
mean, I'm disabled, and we were taking a road trip to get my dog Nitro passed away. Is Siberian Husky. Okay, so we were taking a road trip to a husky farm, and it was 3 hours north of where I am, and Arena, I think it was. Anyway, along the way, me and my buddy, my friend at the time, he was playing chauffeur, and we were cracking up the girls in the back seat, with all the stuff we were saying to each other, and they say, "Oh, you should start a podcast." Well, I got us started, but people didn't like what we were saying, because we were talking a lot of politics and religion, and my views may not agree with everybody else's. So we weren't getting any followers and stuff. So in 2019, we decided to switch to paranormal. And ever since then, it's been a trip. You know, I've met, got a lot of great people, that are passionate about this. Uh, I've got to collaborate with Dale Kazmarek, for example. We've gone and did the Buddy Holly crash site in Iowa one year. Then we did the Far R School in Maxwell, Iowa. So it's been an interesting trip, you know. And when I decided to do the paranormal, it had a lot to do with what I went through in '95 at the end of '95, about this time of the year actually. I was diagnosed with leukemia and died and had an out of body experience. And I saw my mother being treated in the waiting room and them working with the paddles, trying to bring me back. And the next thing I know, I'm like, I believe anything's possible. And I say that a lot. I keep an open mind when I go out and look for things and research. You have to, you know. It's all theories anyways, and so nobody's right and nobody's wrong.
Absolutely. That is as to quote your name, insane. That you've recently had a article written about you in an online magazine that you sent me, and it's just fascinating the stuff that was in there. As far as like, you didn't just pass away the one time; it's been several times that you've had these near death experiences now.
Yeah, it was several times, and I tell you, it's really changed my life. I mean, when they say you were that close to death and you reflect back on your past, everything you did before then, I really did that. And I tell you, I actually started writing letters to ex-girlfriends and stuff because I was such a jerk to them that I was doing it to apologize and stuff. And I pretty much straightened out. It took time. It didn't happen like overnight, but I changed my ways. You know, I started, uh, thinking different. Not thinking so much for myself, not being such a jerk. I mean, I was a womanizer, and then some people would use some bad words, call me a male slut, you know, but that was quite a few years ago. And I realized that karma is something that's real. So, with that in mind, I started trying to do the right thing, you know, and instead of doing the easy way out, because the right thing isn't always easy. It takes a lot of work, and I had to repair a few relationships, got rid of a lot of toxic relationships. It was a lot of soul searching, but it happens when you get that close to death. It does happen, and how you use it, you know, I feel I've improved my life a lot since then. I've been married and faithful to the same woman for 15 years now.
Wow.
We've
Congratulations.
been married for 15. Well, it'll be 16 in February.
That's awesome, man. So tell me a little bit more about like you had this out of body experience when you've passed away several times. Did you have a very similar like out of body experience each time, or did they differ? Tell me a little bit more about that.
No, it was more pretty much the same thing. I was kind of, like you see in the movies, you're kind of floating above your body, but you see the lights, those lights in the operating room, or the emergency room, the lights that they have over you. You see those. I saw them working paddles on me, but I heard the conversations like between the doctors
Mhm.
and my brother, my stepfather, and my dad that were in the room. I saw them like crying, and it's like my little brother saying, "Look, you're my older brother. You got to be around," things like that. And then my mom had heart problems in the past, and somehow I ended up not too far away, but just out in the waiting room area, and I saw them working on my mom because she had an attack or an episode, and they had to give her a shot to bring her back. And it's just those little fragments of memories from that. But that whole experience is also one that some would say led me to. I have these feelings every now and then, and I've only gotten these after it happened, a few years after it happened, and they've gotten more accurate the more I pay attention to them. I try to ignore it a lot because it's always bad news, and I don't want to deal with that because I've seen too much death in my life. Especially all I lost a lot of people in a very short time. It was like my dad, my stepfather, my girlfriend. They all died within a 2-year period. And that was after I survived what I did. But during that time, I was getting those like dreams of bad things happening, and I'd be able to narrow it down. And then I was able to narrow it down to where it was like from three to just one person, and I've never been wrong yet, and I don't like that. You know, I mean, I knew about my mom dying before she died, even though she was in a nursing home and was going downhill. But the day of, I went to see her, and it's like I turned around with my girlfriend and I said, I can't be here. You know, it's over. She's about to go. And no sooner did we get home, about an hour later, we got the phone call, and I've had to live with that because, my mom probably wanted to tell me something. And I've just seen too much in such a short period of time that I shy away from it a lot. But when it happens and I can't ignore it, I try to tell my wife, and she's my wife and I make a great team. She understands me and I understand her, and we make a great team. And so when I tell her things like this, she helps me through it, you know. But I try to ignore it as much as I can because I really don't want them to know that information before it happens.
You know,
So,
it's always like a blessing and a curse there. Like
yeah,
sometimes people wonder, do you want to know the day that you're going to die or the day that someone's going to die? And it's a blessing because you know that you can survive everything up to there and that nothing is going to be the end up to there, but you still have that lingering of these things. And I don't know. I don't know which would be harder to deal with, knowing or not knowing. And yeah, I guess we're mostly
yeah.
stuck with not knowing.
Well, I just don't like to know because I I've gotten ever since the leukemia stuff. I've gotten more sensitive to my feelings and people, and you know, and it might have something to do with my age too. But you get that way where things will make you cry when you watch them on TV that normally wouldn't have in the past. And it's just because I'm more in touch with my feelings and people around me, and it's complicated. I tend to hibernate a lot. you know you don't see me out too often, especially this time of year. It's too cold, man. For an old man, it's too cold. um but for what I went through, yeah, it is too cold for me. I missed 3 winters in a row in that hospital, in the UW hospital in Madison. And we in Wisconsin, we build up a tolerance over the years.
Yep.
Well, those 3 or 4 years that I spent in the hospital missing those winters, I lost that tolerance. So I don't have a tolerance for this cold anymore. I really don't.
Wow.
You know.
It kind of gives me that story of a little bit of I haven't seen the movie in a long time. Correct me if I'm wrong, but It's a Wonderful Life. Isn't that like the guy wishes that he was never born, and then they take him back and show him what the world was like without him there?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of what this kind of seems like. Like you're having all these rough time and stuff, and then you meet this near death experience where you see your brother, you see your mother and stuff going through all this stuff of how much they care about you in that, and it shows you what the world would have been like if you weren't there. And it's just, I can totally imagine how much that would change and alter you, and just open up your eyes, and anybody for that matter, to have those experiences, and that would be absolutely a life-changing experience in all aspects of it.
Yeah, it's another way to look at it is you kind of, as you're sitting in that hospital bed fighting for my life, you got nothing but time on your hands. And so after that near death experience, you're going to lay back and you're going to think about things you've done in the past
Mhm.
and how can I be different, you know, and and a lot of that is what I was doing. And I was kind of like judging myself, and you are the hardest judge on yourself if you're any kind of person at all. That's what will happen to you. And I've survived a lot of crap over the years and through my lifetime, and you'd be surprised at this stuff that I've actually survived. But the whole thing is surviving that. I get a lot of this. it was meant for a reason. I'm not, a lot of people would come to me and say, God's not done with you yet, type thing. And I'm not a religious person. I told my mother in law after I got married, actually before we got married, I told her that she wanted me to go to church with her and my wife that one morning. And I looked at her and I says, if I walked into the church, you would believe in spontaneous combustion.
Yeah.
you know, that's how much, I'm not against religion. I'm just against going to a church to practice.
Mhm.
Okay. And so she laughed, and I figured, well, we're going to get along, you know, and we did. But, I still believe, but I don't believe in death for me. I go around and I've survived so much that it almost seems impossible to kill me, you know,
Mhm.
because I survived uh, a car accident back in 89 or 90 or whatever, and my car flipped and it was all over the radio, and they actually had me dead before I got to the hospital. And no, didn't happen, you know. So I go around, and because of the leukemia, it's a blood cancer. I go around telling people I'm a vampire. I'm going to live forever. Okay, it's kind of a joke because my brother started it because before I got leukemia, I worked third shifts
Mhm.
and I was a security officer. So I had to stay awake, you know. So I'd go to bed about the time the sun was coming up, and I'd wake up about the time the sun was going down. Plus, I'd eat all my, beef products bloody rare.
Mhm.
So my brother used to joke, you're a vampire. Well, it kind of stuck, between that and people calling me Charles Manson when I was, this was a lot darker. That my mom pulled off. She called me Charles Manson one day, and I kind of ran with it.
Oh man. Yeah. That's insane. Like there's so much stuff that, a lot of my guests on here, the mediums and stuff, talk about after, when we pass away, we enter a new soul contract, and we come back to this plane of existence, this life that we know it as, and we're agreed to come back to learn certain lessons or help someone or do a purpose. And it seems like, when we talk about things being meant to be or happen for a reason and stuff, it seems like all that stuff kind of adds up to, you have to learn this lesson and you have to go through these hardships or meet these people and have these losses in order to get you to the point where you understand more about the universe, more about your soul, and the way that we are in life. And this, I mean, you are an excellent example of all of that put to use right there.
You know, and that kind of, you know, when like I said, I was like, a male slut or whatever. But when I was looking back on things, I was like sitting there, like wondering how these relationships didn't work, or, like all these different women, they didn't work, But then I realized I was only meant to be in their lives long enough to help them because they were broken,
Mhm.
And once I fixed them, they decided to move on to better things, you know. And the more I thought about that, and the more I pondered on it, the more I came to realize, things are meant to happen for a reason. Like you said, you're meant to meet this person just at the right time in their lives when they need you the most.
Mhm.
And then once you're done helping them, well, they're going to follow their own path now. They don't need you anymore. It's time for you to move on and help somebody else. No, that's how I accepted a lot of my past, you know. And my reward is my wife. You know, I've got I've got like the perfect relationship. I mean, we go and we go and like they say we're gonna have meatloaf and mashed potatoes. The whole dinner thing. We go into the kitchen and we work together as a team to get that done. Everything we do is like a team effort. You know,
That's awesome.
and we very rarely argue. Or fight. For that matters. You know, I mean, we used to have fights, but it was more about her kids or my kids, and we don't even let that get in the way anymore.
Let me ask you this, and I don't mean to get too personal because it's obviously not about you, but when how does her story or her backstory kind of follow along with yours? Has she gone through a lot of the same stuff and had like that life changing to where she's I don't want to say like mellowed out now or had those revelations like you have? Is she kind of on the same life path?
No.
Okay.
Um, my wife was somebody when I met her, she was kind of broken.
Hmm.
She didn't think she could do this or didn't think she could do that. And I gave her the strength to do that. She's like, I'm too stupid to go to college. And I said, the hell you're not. And now she's got, uh, uh, what is that? Master's? Is that higher than bachelor's?
Yeah.
All right, that's the degree she's got in business administration and accounting and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
She's a very smart lady,
Mhm.
you know, but she needed help. But when it comes to paranormal, I think she only does it because she finds it interesting and she's doing it with me, so it's fun, in her eyes. And we get to go out and see places and travel together and meet interesting people. So, it's all like a more like she does it for me, I think, sometimes. But at the same time it's like we get to take road trips together and go see places and do things we've never done before. So, you know.
Well, let's transition here over to a little bit maybe lighter topic for some, but the paranormal. I mean, like this whole thing, you've talked about how your life-changing events and the near death has opened your eyes a lot more to the paranormal. So, were you always interested in the paranormal prior to that, or was the near death experiences something that kind of triggered that interest?
I think the near death triggered it because I heard a lot of stories when I was younger, but I always thought they were BS because my dad used to tell them to me.
Mhm.
Um, but I kind of always believed in Bigfoot, but I never really opened my mind to things outside of that, you know, other cryptids and, other things possible. But now, like I said, I think anything's possible after what I've been through. Yeah, it's a hard, well, it's like aliens, for example. We're just a tiny little speck in this universe. And we would think we're ignorant to think we're the only intelligent life out there. Come on. Let's get real. We got all these planets out there, and there's not a living creature on one of them. I highly doubt that. You know,
Have you
that's
seen the
common sense, though.
Absolutely. Have you seen the new trailer for the movie Disclosure Day by Steven Spielberg?
No,
Oh,
I don't watch much TV.
fair enough.
Um, I'm more of a video game junkie. I grew up in an arcade.
That's cool.
Before you had consoles in the home.
Yep. That's cool.
So
I was just wondering, that just came out this week, so you brought up aliens. I was wondering what your thoughts on it were, but I don't know. I don't. I don't know if I'm behind it or not. It has a little bit of weird side notes to it, and that, and I don't know. We'll
Well,
leave the door open on it, but
Hollywood, in my mind, is kind of lost their imagination.
hmm,
They keep rehashing and remaking and all this other stuff instead of coming up with new stuff. And when they do, they tend to do it in a hurry and sometimes cast it wrong.
yes.
And if they cast it wrong, the movie's not going to go so well. You know,
What's your favorite movie while we're on the topic?
uh, my favorite movie is one that you probably don't know.
All
It's
right.
it's actually an entire trilogy of 4 films called Billy Jack. See if
It
you're in here.
it sounds familiar, but you're right. I don't. I'm not familiar with
The
it.
first movie's called Born Again Losers or Born, and then it's Billy Jack, and then Billy Jack goes to trial, and then Billy Jack goes to Washington. Yeah, it sounds kind of like some of those pornos or whatever.
I was gonna say, wait a minute. What kind of movies are we talking about here?
But the guy that plays Billy Jack was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Okay, and he went out in California, and that's where he met the Golden Lady, Dolores Taylor. And on a very low budget, they put these movies together. And I keep saying what the world needs is a hero like Billy Jack now more than ever. But
Mr. Kaiju Ninja here would like to know on the topic of your favorites, what your favorite video games are, since you said that you were more into those, and what are you currently playing?
um, I'm playing a lot of I play a lot of the racing games. Um, and I do like the wrestling game. I'm currently playing the what is it, WWE
Yep.
2K25.
Yeah.
I'm
Awesome.
currently playing that one as much as I can with the one, bad paw. But um, I got an Xbox X so that I can play on the island. So
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. Well, so you've done a lot of paranormal research. You've gotten to go to a lot of these really cool places. We talked about how you were interested in the history of these locations and stuff, as well as the paranormal and that. So let's talk about the Buddy Holly site. That's kind of cool. I've never heard too much about that, but I'm familiar with the story. That was a helicopter crash, wasn't it?
it was a plane crash,
Plane
but
crash. Okay.
still,
Yeah.
yeah, and the thing was, um, I don't remember which way it goes, but the last seat was taken because of a coin flip, and that's what put Richie Valens on that plane. It could have been Waylon Jennings. Dukes of Hazzard might have been a hell of a lot different too. Um, but yeah, so it was a plane crash, and they didn't take, where the concert was and where they took off and where they crashed wasn't that far. It had to do a lot with the weather. It happened in February. It was cold and there was a lot of ice on the wings and stuff like that. And the heater on the bus broke down. That's why, and Buddy Holly chartered the flight, for everybody. Well, for some of them. So yeah, and they all died, crashed in a cornfield in I don't want to get that wrong. Clear Lake, Iowa. I think that's what it's called, Clear Lake, Iowa. Anyway, they crashed in a cornfield out there, and nobody survived, including the pilot. So, and I tell you though, going out there, it was so surreal. because I love music more than I like TV. You can take away my cable TV and all that. I don't care. Just don't take away my computer because all my music is there. You know. Um, so we're out there and we're doing this, but it's like all these people were coming and going, to pay respects. You know, you got these great big Buddy Holly glasses before right on the roadside, so you knew where it was. Go down the trail. I don't know how far the trail was. You had to walk down this trail next to the cornfield, and there's the you know uh, kind of headstones that somebody made for them. They're all made out of metal, lighters, and you got monies, little 45s, all this stuff sitting there, and we were getting some really good EMFs. We were asking questions and we were getting the answers. Playing a little bit of a clip of a song and saying, "All right, who played this?" And it would come back and say Buddy or Richie. It'd just be one word, but it'd be enough to know. You know. But the strangest thing was when we got home. You know, it must have been maybe a week or two later. I get a phone call from, I think it was Dale Kazmarek called me because he was with us. And he's like, "Do you get this strange audio on the camera, or anybody pick this up and or hear a plane when we were out there, like low flying, private jet?" No, but we got that on one or two of the recordings, because we had cameras out there and we had little EMF recorders and all of this. We had the whole works, and we picked it up on a couple of different things, and there was no plane. I don't remember or recall anything because it was so quiet out. You would have noticed it if it was flying overhead, but we picked it up on a couple of recordings.
That's
So it was like a phantom plane. Yeah.
What do you make of stuff like that? We hear the stories of, the phantom train whistles, or, the phantom airplane noises, gunshots, things like that, like at Gettysburg. And that if your soul can, leave your body, and this is what people are experiencing as a ghost, how do you explain the, non living sounds in that?
Yeah, I don't. I don't know how to explain that. I mean, we didn't hear it when we were out there, and it was so quiet, and there was enough of us out there. There was like 5 or 6 of us in the little group, and that we would have said, "Hey, there's a plane," or because it came over the audio that it was close, flying low, but nobody saw it. I have no explanation for that. I'd say it was an audio glitch in some cases, but to be picked up on more than one device, that rules that out.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I don't know how to explain that. I really don't. Some things are not really meant to be explained, I guess.
Interesting. I don't know. It kind of makes you think, like, well, are you maybe experiencing a spirit's memories? Like something
Never
that,
thought of it that way.
like Buddy Holly is remembering the plane sound, and that's why you're hearing it because he's projecting it to you. Or it's just so weird to think of that, and how would that even be possible to project that memory to you? That just adds a whole nother layer to the paranormal.
Yeah, it does.
Hmm.
Yeah, it does. Because we didn't find that until we got home and we was reviewing all the information. I mean, we had a lot of things happen that day. I mean, it could have been just one of those days that we were just in the right place at the right time for things to happen, because we also had things happen in Maxwell, Iowa that same day because we were at Farrar School And that was one of those places that I walked into and I wasn't ready for it. And I wasn't even in the building 5 minutes and I had to turn around and walk out because I was feeling sick.
I've heard of that place. Before we
And,
get into this, tell me a little bit more about it, because I'm not familiar with the history or anything about the building itself.
I don't, the building's like 100, what was it, 150 years old. It's an old school. Um, I believe it actually shut down from being used in the late 80s or the late 90s. They stopped using it as a school. Um, I don't know a whole lot about it. You know,
Okay,
my
that's fair.
memory's not that great, but
Fair.
it's got like a 150-year-old cemetery across the street, and the school is about 100 or 150 years old as the building itself. Um, a lot of things went on there that they decided to shut it down. Um, but how much of that, you can't always, well, this is, because there's not a whole lot of document of cases and.
Mhm.
So some of it you got to sift through and find out what's real. But things that happen in that building, I've never seen happen anywhere else. You know, we were doing Dale's got a thing called a plasma. It's like he hooks up a speaker to his laptop, Phantasm box, or, it works the same way as, asking questions and the answer. Well, we were down in the boiler room of that place, and we were getting a lot of voices and one angry spirit. There was things going on from the moment we went in there. Balls rolling across the gym floor. Mark, uh, Mark, my partner at the time, he had uh, he had the habit of provoking things,
Hmm.
and he decided to provoke things, and then the next thing you know, his equipment was failing and he got totally locked out of his laptop.
Hmm.
He knew the password. He was punching in the password right, but it wouldn't let him in. When he got home, one try and he was in. Same password I was using there at the school, but it wasn't. The spirits got kind of upset with him, and they made all his equipment fail, and basically he had nothing from that investigation because the little, those little cards and stuff like that you put
Key
in, like
cards.
nowadays you got those little cards, go in a camera or whatever. They all when you go and put it in, and it's like file corrupted when you go to read them, you know or the battery failed and you didn't get any recording.
That's what you get for provoking the spirits.
Mm-hmm.
More joke. So, okay. So going back to the beginning there, you said that you entered this building and had to leave right away.
Yeah, I entered it and I started feeling real sick to my stomach, and the thing is, that don't happen to me too much. You know, my stomach lining may have gotten destroyed with leukemia, but I do things to where you know I don't have problems like that because I can eat just about anything I want. But I went back out and during that time we had a little bitty car, and I used to have right. Oh, it's right here. I used to have this hanging from the mirror
Mhm.
in the car. I had to go out and grab this and put it on before I walked back in. So, you know, there was something else there it wasn't me because, when I went out and I was protecting myself and put that back on, took a little, minute or two, and I was able to go back in. I didn't have another episode after that. But we had, things like equipment failures or, you know,
Interesting. Let me ask you something about that. So, you had mentioned, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're not religious, right?
no, I'm not.
Okay. So, what's interesting is what if you're not religious, we talk about intent and all that stuff in protection. So, if you believe in something, it will protect you in that. So, in your mindset, what is it about that cross, if you're not religious, that has the protective power?
Well, that cross was with me the day I survived a car accident that I shouldn't have. And it was right, I was wearing it around my neck, because, I wasn't religious, but I ain't going to knock a cross, especially when a girlfriend gives you it as a gift. You're going to wear it.
Fair enough. Mhm.
But, you can see there, you can't really see it on the camera, but there's enough damage done to it that you can see this. It survived the accident with me, so I wear it in when it comes to going out on the road and stuff like that. When I don't feel safe in a vehicle. Vehicle's kind of real small, like the Ford. What was that? Uh Ford. It was a little Ford Escort. That's what we were driving. And that thing scared the hell out of me. It wouldn't take much to destroy that thing on the highway.
Mhm.
You know, so yeah, I take that just to feel a little safer on the road. It's not that I don't trust my wife driving or I don't trust myself driving. I don't trust the other people on the road
Really?
driving. You know, and I got that way from driving cab for 4.5 years in Madison.
Oh, Madison is terrible. Way too many one-way streets and roundabouts and
Oh,
crap.
you want to talk about one-way streets and roundabouts? We go down to Chicago.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that's a given. Madison is just as bad. I can't stand Madison or Oshkosh for that matter. Way too many one-way streets.
Well, I grew up in Madison, so before I left there, I knew Madison like the back of my hand.
Mhm.
I knew every little alleyway, stuff like that. But when I started driving cab and I had to go to Chicago and Chicago O'Hare Airport, oh my God. International lane, domestic lane, picking up only. And I went down to the wrong lane, and I ended up down there. The people that were with me were pissed. Well, they were already pissed because their plane was supposed to land in Chicago, but it landed at Dane County O'Hare because of the weather. So they were like bitching because they had to take cab. And well, what are you bitching about? You didn't pay for it.
There
The airline paid for it. But I ended up with one nice tip out of it all.
you go. Kaiju Ninja would like to know if you have ever seen a Sasquatch or a UFO, or what, if not, what is the strangest experience or thing that you've ever experienced or seen paranormal wise?
Well, I haven't seen a Sasquatch yet. I'd love to, though. We've got the woods for it here.
Mhm.
Kettle Marine Forest goes quite a distance across Wisconsin.
Mhm.
But I've seen plenty of things in the sky, UFOs that I can't explain, especially right out my back porch. I'm out in the middle of the kind of like out in the country. I'm about 5 minutes outside of Watertown, okay, in the country, and my my back porch there's like a man-made lake, the well, and then there's a cornfield and all this and trees out there. But above this, there should be no lights out there, you know.
Should be.
Well, I know which lights come from the farm because
Yep.
I've been out here 10 years. So I know that these are lights because they were like red. They got red light. There's like a red, like a cell phone tower or something out there. So you got the red light up there at the top for the airplanes so they don't hit them and stuff. But the ones that are more like centered, they shouldn't be there usually at night. So I can never tell what they are. But at that time of night, shouldn't be a low flying plane, that's for sure. You know. So I've seen some weird stuff. Mark saw a lot of stuff out in Marshall, but I think the weirdest thing I saw and continue to see is always going to be that property on the Bray Road property, Lee Hample's farm.
Examples, yes, absolutely. I would agree with that sentiment wholeheartedly.
I mean, that place, you dubbed it the Skinwalker Ranch of Wisconsin.
Yep.
And I'd have to agree with that after the night that uh, it was Dale Kazmarek, myself, and Mark. We were out there trying to do an overnight investigation, and I've lived here all my life in Wisconsin. Okay, just a so I've seen a lot of crazy weather, that kind of stuff. But we were out there and we had there's a cornfield that runs right alongside the 30 acres of hay farm, and we had the thermal cameras and we had a bipedal figure in the cornfield
Hmm.
on the thermal, and you can hear Dale and I talking about it, and he's trying to keep track, and he lost it, and then the bipedal figure we figured was following Mark because he was walking out and was quite a ways out there, and apparently he was talking to something that was following him in the cornfield. So we were trying to stay there until about 5 or 6 because that's when all the trail cam pictures get some of the coolest pictures. We saw right around 6, 7 ish. We're trying to stay out there that long. Well, right after we got this bipedal figure and we lost it, and Mark got back. It was about an hour later. The fog rolled in so thick. I've never seen it as thick as it rolled in, and it rolled in so fast and so thick that we had to pack up our equipment because the moisture was gonna
Hmm.
possibly ruin it. So we get done packing it up, and we're out there with little flashlights, making sure everything's off the ground. We picked everything up, and the fog lifted. It's like the land itself was chasing us off the property before that magic hour of 5 or 6 in the morning when all the good pictures,
Hmm.
and we never got, we ended up leaving that night.
Man, I tell you what, when the last time we were out there, and I don't think that it was part of the episode at all, but we had a big easy up tent set up in the middle of the field there, and all of our equipment was under it, but or most of it. We had a couple tables out on either side of it that some of the stuff was out on, like the drone and stuff was set up out
Yeah.
there so it could fly away and that. But in the middle of our investigation, and only that 100% only, we looked it up on the radar because we wanted to know what was going on. This like little rainstorm came over the field. It
Wow.
wasn't anywhere else. Like you could look at it on radar. It was one chunk of rain cloud, and it literally just like passed over Elkhorn, and that was it.
Wow.
It came across the field. It was done in like 5 minutes, but it rained quite a bit, and then it just cleared right up. So very interesting for the weather patterns around there. I see you. We got the question here about are you the content creator who used to wear the old straight jackets on the stream back in 2010 decade?
No,
Nope, different Insane Joe. Awesome.
no. I thought about getting the straight jacket though.
Yeah.
You
Uh,
know, because the insane asylum, the whole thing. But
Very cool, man. Well, we are coming up on the end of
oh,
the
yeah,
the
you
show.
like that?
Yeah, the MTV shirt.
Yeah, it's one of those ones you can buy in the store, like at Walmart, in the old retro shirts, and
Mhm.
I remember that because I remember when MTV first aired.
He said that guy was Insane Joe as well. There you go. Oh, you gotta watch out for copyright infringement now, man. Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, so you have correct me if I'm wrong. You actually have two podcasts, right? Because you talk about like horror movies and stuff too, right?
Yeah, that's not my podcast, but I am on it quite
You're
a
on
bit
it.
as a
Yeah.
co-host. We talk horror movies,
Mm.
classics, and cover things like Friday the 13th, Halloween, Leprechaun. We can get into some of the classics. We've been doing some of the upper the newer ones like Scream, like Scream and stuff like that. So yeah, we cover a new one every Tuesday.
What is the name of that podcast? Where can people listen? And your other one as well.
Well, that one's Fear Fans, and that can be found on YouTube. Um, Don Don Elmy or something like that. That's the guy that Nick, my friend Nick and Don run that. And then my show, Insane Asylum. Well, you can find me on my our YouTube channel and our Facebook page, and I do that uh, Thursdays or Fridays. And tomorrow is going to be special at a special time. It's going to be at 3 o'clock because I'm kind of like what do you call that?
Awestruck.
Making it convenient for the guest, you know.
Yep.
So, and I'm going to have a very special guest. His name is Chad Lewis. So,
Amazing guy. Yep.
yeah,
Well,
well, every time this started, this started the very first year I showed up down there in Chicago at the Paracon that Jack uh,
Chavez. Yep.
Chavez puts together. I walked through the door and I just had this hat on and the vest you got me on that graphic, that vest, okay?
Mhm.
'Cause I've got a newer vest now, but you've seen the newer vest. I had to buy more patches from you,
Yep.
but I walk into the main door and here's Chad Lewis going like this and flagging me down. Come over here and talk to me. You know, every single year. Since then.
That's awesome. Yep. Chad is an amazing guy. I'm hoping to have him back on here really soon. I just reached out to him, so we will see if we can get him
Yeah,
back. Well,
he's a busy guy.
he
He
is.
sure is. I mean, his first excuse, because I was supposed to have him on as the first show from when I came back for the winter months, and he had to cancel because he double booked.
Hmm.
And that's because he's going to all these libraries doing his thing.
Yep.
And I don't think he can keep track. He needs somebody to keep track of this stuff for him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, he's literally chadlewisresearch.com. He's got just insane amount of booking dates just everywhere. He's at libraries from Iowa to Wisconsin, Minnesota, and everything. Grandizer has a question. He said, "What were your influences into the paranormal genre? TV shows, radio, books, stories passed down, your personal stories, other."
Well, let's see. It was mostly books, and I was never one to read books. The first book that got my attention was a hardcover book called Weird Wisconsin. It was written by Linda Godfrey, God rest her soul.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it had so many interesting stories. And then I started by reading Chad Lewis's books and following some of his dare videos on YouTube. And yeah, ever since then I was hooked. So it was mostly from books.
Your local
Oh,
hometown
and it
Wisconsin.
would be, and when I was driving cab I don't know how many of your listeners would remember this guy. His name was Art Bell.
Mhm.
You know who Art Bell was?
Mhm.
Yeah, I used to listen to his show in my cab all the time when I was, because I only got AM radio, and you know
Very
there wasn't much on AM radio to listen to.
cool. Grandizer says he might be the same age as you, with books, very few movies like The Legend of Boggy Creek and In Search of with Leonard Nimoy.
Oh, yeah.
Very cool. Awesome. 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 All right, man. Well, tell us a little bit about your podcast, where we can find it, and we'll take this home here.
Yeah, well, my podcast is called Insane Asylum, and I tend to speak with the people I find the most interesting in the paranormal field and try to have them on guest as my show. And we do it, it's going to vary. It'll be either Thursdays or Fridays. It depends on when I have a guest. But you can find that information out on the Facebook page and or the YouTube channel. You'll see a notification ahead of time. And you can always check out insaneasylumpodcast.com for all those links. You know, it's all on the front page of my website. So,
Very cool. And those are in the show notes here. I have I have the Insane Asylum podcast up. What is it? Hey, does this say? The Insane Asylum on Facebook, Utterly Insane Asylum. There we go. And
yeah.
the Things Ghost Society, I also have in the show notes for you as well.
Oh, yeah. It's because I'm part of Things Network. Yeah.
I got you.
You know, I'm part
I'll
of a
promote the things you don't.
I'm part of a couple of networks. It's because I met a lot of great people over time, and they asked me. So I'm like the president of the Things chapter of Wisconsin. Um, and I appear on some of those other podcasts. One from the UK. I can't think what it's called every now and then because they just put a general chat out. Like tomorrow night I'll be on Jeremy York's show with him because they're doing a end of the year Christmas type special tomorrow night. And then Monday there'll be one from the UK that I'll be on for that too. So yeah, it's fun. It gives me something other than to just sit around here and be bored. You know, I'm disabled. Nobody will hire me anymore. So, and I got two kind of like working for myself a lot. I owned my own business at one time and driving cab, you're kind of your own boss. So, yeah, I don't like working for other people. Too set in my ways.
Understandable.
So when my wife's working, it's just me and my dog.
Awesome, man. Well, it's been awesome. My pleasure having you on and
Oh,
chatting.
thank you.
Having you on my show for once. Like I said, I've been on yours before, so we've swapped here. So awesome. Awesome. Grandizer says, thank you, Insane Joe, for your time, insight, taking questions, and commentary. Much appreciated. Stay happy, healthy, safe, and blessed. Awesome. He also wants to know, have you ever interviewed Zila Edgar?
I don't think so. The name's familiar, though.
Okay. I don't know that one either. She is based out of Wisconsin too. Popular content creator, author too.
Huh.
I think
I'll have to
you
look into
mentioned
that.
the show before as well, and or you asked, didn't you ask on Thanksgiving if my mom had read her books? Wasn't that it? I don't know, something like that. But yeah, I've never heard of her.
Happy holidays to you and your mom.
Thank you, man.
Say hi to her for me.
No,
Real
will do.
nice lady.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we look forward to seeing you in a couple months here, hopefully. There we go. At the Chicago Paracon, where we always get to
Yeah.
see you and stuff.
Well,
So
yeah, it's when it warms up, it starts warming up right around March, end of March. I start not doing my shows and stuff so much, and I start going out and exploring. So,
Sounds right.
and I really do have a lot of fun going to the paranormal conventions and stuff like that because you meet such great people.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, I was there this year. I was there from beginning until they were kicking us out at the paranormal convention. You
That's
know, I mean, Jack was so nice to me that I was able to park my truck right next to the hotel, the place it was at. So, we came up there with the truck decorated for the first time, all decked out. Well, it's going to be even more decked out now, but we're going to get this going, and it's got lights. We had the light bar in there, and next time we'll have the musical horn set up, and we'll come in, playing Carry On Wayward Son,
Ooh,
because I'm a big fan of the supernatural.
yeah.
I should
The
say
show.
that. I'm a big fan of the supernatural show. So,
I was gonna let's see here.
but that song just kind of, I don't know, it does it for me or something. There's something about that song that, but I like the old classic rock. From the 70s, back when music was good.
This is your car. I wanted to pull it up because it was kind of
Oh,
cool here.
yeah.
So there you go. You get a chance to see if you're watching us live here on YouTube or watch the video stream of this. This is a pretty cool vehicle there.
That is a Ford Explorer, 2019 Ford Explorer Police Interceptor Edition.
Yep. All decked out in the purple and black show colors, the Insane Asylum podcast logo there on the side here for anybody.
Actually, actually, it's more decorated than that now because I think we got the Caps logo going down that back. See where the back window where the one round sticker is in the middle. We're putting them all up and down that thing, so yours is up there on both sides too.
Nice, man. I appreciate that. That's very cool.
So yeah, we got this. My wife does most of the work on this truck.
Yeah.
Because she makes everything here at home with a Cricut.
Oh yeah. Very cool.
So that's all vinyl. On the hood it says "We Believe," and there was a light bar in there that day.
Yep.
That was Chicago.
Yep. Awesome. Very cool, man. I love cars and weird. Not I don't love cars. Let me get that right, but I like the weird cars like the ambulances and stuff that people have for paranormal and the ecto and all that stuff.
But everybody's sitting there. Everywhere I go, I see somebody copying Echo One.
Mm-hmm.
The Ghostbusters thing was there as a Chevy Caprice, I think it was. Okay.
Yep.
I want to be different, and that's why we went with what we went with. Decided to do it the way we did it. But the whole thing is, we bought it because it was cheaper and got it from a dealership. It was cheaper. We had no idea we were going to do what we did with it until about a year and a half later.
Very cool, man. Awesome. Well, we are at the end of our show today here again. I appreciate your time. I look forward to chatting with you again and meeting you in person and the Bluesmobile. There you go.
Yeah, I took pictures of that. I had to. And I had to go to Joliet to say that I was there and take pictures there too because of the Blues Brothers movie.
Nice. Very cool.
They got that Blues Brothers mobile on a pole at a gas station somewhere in Chicago. I got pictures of it.
Awesome, man. All right, man. Well, I look forward to seeing you again in Chicago, and hopefully we can chat again soon. And if you ever need a guest, let me know. I'll come on your show again too. So,
all right,
man. You take care. Have a great day. All right, guys, that is our show for this week. Thank you all for tuning in. Next week, our show falls on Christmas. So I will not be live in studio, but I do have a pre-recorded episode that will air at noon to 1 for all of you regularly scheduled viewers. If you want to tune in and check it out live, or anytime after the fact while you're enjoying your festive holidays, or if not, you can watch my show. Whichever you prefer. But next week, my guest is Ellie Weisensell. She is a member of my team. She's a spirit medium, and she does a lot of the clearings and negative entity removals. And she will be on talking about how you can keep yourself safe and happy from negative energies and stuff during the holiday seasons, going to all these family gatherings and social groups and keeping your energy grounded and centered aside from, you know, all the hustle and bustle in the malls and holiday shopping and all the stuff that's going on. So for all of you that may be having a hard time this time of year, it's a great episode to check out, and hopefully we see you again. And then the week after that is New Year's Day, and that will be pre-recorded as well here on the Untold Radio Network for my show, but it's going to be all about being positive in the new year. So hopefully you guys enjoy those two, and I will see you back here live after the first of the year. But I will be live on Monsters on the Edge on Mondays for you guys coming up here. So until then, I will see you on the Paranormal Spectrum live in about 2 weeks. But I will see you next week. So until then, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to like, subscribe, and share all things here on the Untold Radio Network, and check out the Insane Asylum podcast. It is in the show notes for you guys to check out more of Insane Joe and all the stuff he does. So until next week, remember, we're all part of the paranormal spectrum. Take care, be well, and I'll see you next week.
You seem to know something I don't. What's going